data storytelling with Power BI. So this particular project aims at producing an interactive dashboard that helps the business organizations to analyze business pattern and make improved decisions, which will enrich their business growth. Data storytelling is nothing but translating complex data into understandable manner. This is achieved using data visualization. Data visualization refers to the pictorial representation of raw data. In order to represent the data in a visualized manner, we use Power BI. Power BI is a Microsoft tool which is used for generating interactive reports. So these steps makes up the project. We will be discussing about these steps in the project. Problem statement. So in today's fast-paced world, every market, every organization grow instantly, and this involves large volumes of data from each and every sector like manufacture, finance, administration, and so on. It is important to analyze each and every data and make decision correctly. And analyzing raw data would be more difficult and it can even lead to suboptimal decision making. And also reporting information about our product status in numerical terms would be more confusing and difficult to understand for the end users. And so to solve these kinds of problems that arises due to large volumes of values, we go for data visualization. Scope of the project. So the scope of this project aims at creating an interactive dashboard with timely updation to analyze raw data, identify patterns, and improve the company's performance. There are some reasons to choose Power BI for data visualization, and these include interactive report generation, updation of data, accessible among the organization, provides mobile interface, ease of understanding. Using Power BI, we will be able to obtain an interactive report regarding the patterns and trends. These report can be accessible among the organization with a official work email, and it also provides a mobile interface, that is it can be accessed through mobile. It makes the visualization part easier. Methodology. These are the 7 stages that deals in this project. We will start with data collection from the organization, then cleaning that data. Then after cleaning the data, we will be with the EDA steps. Then after exporting the data, we will be dumping those data into our SQL database. Then a connection between the SQL database and the Power BI will be established. And then using all those UI elements available in the Power BI, we will be creating an interactive dashboard. Then we will be comparing, cross-checking, and verifying the values from the report and the data set. This is the flow diagram of the project, which starts in data collection from the organization, then cleaning all those data using Python commands. These Python commands will be discussed later in the presentation. Then we will be going for EDA, exploratory data analysis, where we will be gathering all those nominal data. Then after doing with all those stuffs, we will be exporting the clean data into a CSV file. This CSV file will be dumped into a SQL server, and then a connection between the SQL server and the Power BI is established. Then using all those UI elements available in the Microsoft tool Power BI, we will be creating a interactive report. Architectural diagrams. This shows the overall process flow of the project. Let's say there is a business stream and we are going to collect our data from that particular business streams. They maintain their data in a SQL database. So initially that SQL database is being collected and the data of that SQL database is cleaned using Python commands. In data cleaning, we will be going for the steps like removing null data, removing duplicate terms, and finally normalizing all those data. And after cleaning those, we will be going for EDA to obtain all those nominal data. And then we will be pushing all those clean data into another SQL database, and then a connection between the database and the Power BI is established. In Power BI, using all those elements, we will be finally in generating a interactive dashboard. In Power BI, initially we will be establishing the connection, then loading the data into the Power BI. Then after loading it, a data model will be established. Then we will be creating base measures. Then using all those UI elements, we will be finally generating a interactive dashboard and then publishing it. Algorithm or the process of this project, collecting raw data from the organization will be our first stage, and then these raw data will be cleaned using Python commands. We will be using a library called pandas, which is an inbuilt library to read data sets. Then we will be going for EDA. For performing EDA, we will be using pandas, NumPy. These are some of the inbuilt libraries, and along with it, we will be also using some user-defined functions in Python in order to gather all those nominal data from the data sets. After performing all those cleaning steps, we will be exporting the clean data into a CSV file using Python. Then we will be creating a SQL Server connection in my SQL Workbench, then dump the data into the SQL Server. After dumping the data into SQL Server, we will be establishing the connection between the SQL Server and the Power BI. After the connection has been established, we will be dumping all those SQL Server's data into the Power BI. Using those UI elements present in the Microsoft Power BI tool, we will be generating a interactive report, and then we will be testing the report with our actual nominal value using the SQL queries, and finally publishing the correct report. Moving forward, these are some of the important code segments that is involved in our project. These Python codes are used for data cleaning process. Import pandas as PD. This particular command line is used to import the Python library pandas, which is used to read the CSV file. In next line, we are reading our CSV file using the command pd.read underscore CSV file, then displaying the data frame. In order to find the non-null count from the data, we need to use the command data.info. Your data is nothing but the variable that holds the CSV file. Data cleaning involves the removal of null values and duplicate values. Your data drop now is a function which is used to drop all those null values from the data set. And in order to remove the duplicate values from the data set, we need to find all those duplicate data. In order to find the duplicate values from the data set, we are going with this particular command, and data.drop underscore duplicates involves the deletion of all those duplicate data from the data set. And finally, after proceeding all those cleaning commands, we are going to generate our CSV file. To generate CSV file, we are going with the command data.to underscore CSV. This particular command helps to generate the CSV file output. So in our project, we will be using 5 different data. For all those 5 different data sets, we will be going with the data cleaning process. The first data set is the customer data set. So when we read the data set, we will be obtained with the data frame. So the first output shows the columns that are available in our customer data set. The second output shows the normal count of the data set. This is obtained using the Python command data.info, and it shows that the customer data set does not contain any null value. Third output is that checking for duplicate values. Since because there aren't any duplicate values in our data set, we will not be using the command data drop duplicates. And so we will be proceeding to export the clean data set into CSV file. This is our second data set, date. The first output shows the columns that are present in the date data set. The second output shows the non-null count of the date data set. And the third shows regarding the duplicate terms. Here in date data set, we don't have any duplicate values, and therefore we are proceeding to generate the CSV file. The third data set is our market data set. The first output shows the columns available in the market data set. The second output shows the non-null count of the columns present in the market data set. Here, in our second column zone, we have 15 non-values, which means there are 2 null values present in our zone column. And therefore, it is important to remove the null values from the data set. In order to remove the null values from our data set, we are proceeding with the drop now function. This will remove the null values, and we will be obtained with the third output. After dropping those null data set, we will again be checking for the non-null counts, and we will be ensuring that there is no null values present in the data set. The fifth output shows the duplicate terms. Since because we don't have any duplicate values in market data set, we are proceeding to the next step, that is generating the CSV file. This is our fourth data set, which is the product data set. The first output shows the columns that are available in the product data set. The second output shows the non-null counts of the product data set. The third output shows the duplicate values from the data set. We don't have any sort of duplicate values in product data set, and therefore we are generating the CSV file. The next data set is the transaction data set. The first output shows the columns that are present in the transaction table. The second output shows the non-null count of the transaction data frame. Since because we are going to focus on the market trends and the particular organization, it is important to maintain a normalized, consistent data over the currency information and about the sales amount. These are some of the Python comments that has been used in the data cleaning process of the transaction data set. The third output shows the values in the column currency from the transaction table. The fourth output shows the unique values that are present in the currency column of the transaction table, followed by the value count of that particular unique values. That is, there are 275 transaction record with the currency INR, and there are two transaction records with the currency USD. We also found that some transaction at INR/R instead of IRN. So we will be replacing those terms with str.replace, that is displayed in the fifth output. After replacing all those terms, we will be checking for those transactions which has currency as USDs. We will be obtained with four transactions which have currency as USD. Since because to maintain a uniformity in the data frame in the report, we are going to convert all those USD into Indian money. So in order to convert the USD into Indian money, we are using a inbuilt function that will convert the USD amount into Indian money. Then after these conversions, we will be checking for duplicate values, and we found that there are 277 duplicate rows in our transaction data set. And so we will be dropping all those 277 duplicate rows using the Python command data.drop underscore duplicates. After dropping all those duplicate terms, we will be generating our CSV file. Going to the next part, that is EDA, exploratory data analysis. We will be using Python commands to perform data analysis. These are some of the Python commands that has been used to calculate the total revenue, sales quantity, and the revenue based on month and year, sales quantity based on month and year, and so on. We will be discussing these along with the output in the upcoming slides. So the first output shows the total revenue, which is nothing but the sum of sales amount from the transaction database. The second output shows the total sales quantity, which is nothing but the sum of sales quantity from the transaction database. The third output shows the overall revenue based on months. This particular output shows the revenue based on month, that is from January till December for all the 4-year period. The fourth output shows the sales quantity based on month. Then the fifth output shows the revenue based on year. There are 4 years involved in the data set. For each year, the revenue has been calculated and displayed. The sixth output shows the sales quantity based on year. For each particular year, we will be having the sales quantity. For example, in the year 2017, we have our sales quantity as 1,462. And in the year 2020, we have our sales quantity to be 19. The seventh output shows the revenue based on year and month. That is, for each year in a particular month, it shows the revenue amount. Eighth output shows the sales quantity based on year and month. For example, in the year 2018, in the month March, we have our total revenue to be 81,795 and the sales quantity to be 53. The the revenue based on the customer code. So from the customer data set, we will be first gathering the customer code, and then we will be grouping it along with the sum of sales amount. The 10th output shows the sales quantity based on customer code, and the 11th output shows the sales quantity based on product code. Likewise, we can also do for sales amount based on customer code. These are some of the data analysis performed in a transaction data set. Since we are mainly focused on the revenue of the organization, it is important to focus on the sales amount and sales quantity of the particular product. And so we have done our data analysis part in the transaction data set, which contains both the sales amount and the sales quantity. Moving forward, we will be going into the visualization part, that is Power BI. So in Power BI, we will be doing all our visualization part with all those clean data sets. This is the area where we will be creating our interactive report, and these are the UI elements that is present in the data visualization tool Power BI. So using these visualization tools, we will be creating our reports. These two are the base measures that we will be creating in order to find the sum of sales amount and sum of sales quantity, which are going to be two major factors that are involved in the project report. As we saw before, there are n numbers of UI elements that has been offered by the Power BI tool in order to enhance the visualization part. So in our project, we will be using four UI elements, that is card, multi-row card, line chart, and stack bar charts, in order to represent all those nominal data in a visualized manner. And here in the data column, we will be able to see all those data that has been present in our SQL database, and these data has been dumped into the Power BI using the SQL Server connection. Visualization is done using these data. That is, after placing a UI element in our report area, we will be asked to drag and drop the elements that has to be reflected in the UI element. Well, in this particular picture, we have selected start bar, which asks for a x-axis value and y-axis value. So in our x-axis value, we will be dragging and dropping our customer name, and in our y-axis value, we will be dragging and dropping our revenue, which will produce is a stat bar with customer name in its y-axis and revenue in its x-axis. So after performing all those stages, we will be obtained with a interactive dashboard in this way. This particular interactive dashboard gives us the details regarding the revenue, sales quantity, and the transaction that occurred in all those 4 years, the months, the top five customer details based on revenue, the revenue of each customer, the top five products based on sales quantity, the sales quantity for the 4 years, and the revenue for the 4 years. And this particular line chart represents the revenue trend. As we saw the desktop interface before, this is a mobile interface which can be produced in the Power BI. The Power BI tool offers us to prepare a mobile outlet also, and these desktop interface and the mobile interface can be published in the Power BI website using a work email using the publish option that is available in the Power BI tool. The project comes to the last phase, which is the testing phase. We need to verify whether the data in the report are correct as in the nominal values. And therefore, we are just going to cross verify whether the values are correct or not. For that, let's check for the revenue amount in the year 2018 and in the month March. So in the month March 2018, we have our revenue around 81,795 from the project report, and we are going to check this data with the nominal data that we got from the Python coding. The right side image shows the output yield from the Python coding, and it shows the revenue amount to be 81,795 in the year 2018 and month March, which is same as the data we got in the report. Next, let's say we need to update a transaction, update a sales amount in a particular transaction. In that case, after changing the sales amount in a particular transaction, the report must also change accordingly. Let's check whether it changes or not. So we will be checking that in our testing phase. Let's consider the transaction that occurred in the year 2018 and in the month 3. Let's take the transaction ID 569, where the sales amount is around 6,713. So let's change this particular transaction amount into 9 lakhs and see whether the what is changing or not. In order to change the sales amount in that particular transaction, we will be using SQL queries. Since because this connection established between the SQL server and the database, it is important that the changes has to be made in the SQL server. Only then it will be reflected in the Power BI report. So here we will be changing our sales amount in that particular transaction from 6,000 to 9 lakhs in order to see the changes that has been reflected in the report. Using these SQL queries, we will sales amount in that particular transaction. And then after updating the table in the SQL server, we will move on to our Power BI report. In our Microsoft Power BI, there's an option called refresh, which will synchronize the SQL data and reflect the changes onto the report. So after refreshing the report, we are able to see the changes that in the year 2018 and in the month March, the revenue has been changed. Month March in the year 2018 had the least revenue in the previous report, while after updating it to be 90,000, the revenue has been changed. This ensures that the report is correct. This is the end of our project. The significance of the project is that it provides a method for generating interactive reports that can be used to visualize numerical data and identify patterns and trends. This can help the business users make more informed decisions for their organizations.